Bartolome de Las Casas took a stand defending Native American rights during the end of the Italian Renaissance in the 1500s by writing books of Native Americans and letters to the Spanish monarchy to stop the poor treatment. In the short term, he helped create laws to stop the encomienda system, a system created to regulate the Native American labor that, unfortunately, was used for other reasons like enslaving natives and taking their land. In the long term, by getting rid of the Native American slavery, he helped start the African slave trade, which he regretted after he saw it happen in his later years. Bartolome de Las Casas, born in the late 1400s in Seville, Spain during the Italian Renaissance, was only 8 years old when Columbus returned from his expedition. After growing up, he sailed on the expedition of Governor Nicolas de Ovando in 1512. After the expedition, in which he traveled to Hispaniola, he was largely impacted by the conquistadors' poor treatment of the natives and the brutality of how they treated them. They would kill the women, children, and men with several different methods, including hanging them over fire, tying them to a pole, covering them in tar, whipping them to a bloody pulp, and more. The only excuse for why they could keep killing is that the natives might occasionally fight back. Las Casas estimated there were 3 million people on Hispaniola on first contact, and after 40 years, their population decreased to 200. He was a very well-known priest, so he could get his voice out easier than others. In fact, it is debated that he was the first priest in the Americas. He felt strongly against the treatment of the natives, and being a priest, hated the gold motive that the Spanish possessed. One of the reasons that they killed the natives was they didn't bring gold from where they were working. The conquistadors also killed them because they had a different religion. Las Casas was one for God, in converting the natives to Christianity. So much so that he converted natives to Christianity while they were dying, so they could live with God forever. To bring Christianity to the natives, he traveled to Hispaniola, or what they called the Indies, in 1512, hoping for riches and a good life. However, what he came to was the poor treatment of the Tanos people by the Spanish conquistadors. In his books, he described the people as weak and naive, therefore not being fit to endure the work. This all led him to take a stand. One way that he took action was by writing 18 known books, including A Brief Account of the Destruction of the Indies, History of the Indies, In Defense of the Indians, and De Thesaurus in Peru, where in the book he defended the rights of the Native Americans in Peru. He got the information for this book by traveling to Peru in his later years. He also went to other places like Venezuela, New Granada, Darien, Nicaragua, and Guatemala to observe the treatment of the natives and gather information. He traveled so much that he crossed the Atlantic 10 times in total. Being a priest, he had the power to communicate with the changing emperors of the time. Most did not support him. However, after speaking with him in 1519 in his special council in Valladolid, Charles V did. He set forth the laws of 1542 that banned Indian slavery, prohibited Indian forced labor, provided for a gradual abolition of the encomienda system, having the dignity of the Indians as subject to the crown, and could be considered the highlight of Las Casas' career. Most of the colonists hated the new laws, and the colonists campaigned against them. In addition, the laws essentially started a civil war in Peru, so Charles V produced a weakened version of these laws in 1552. Las Casas also wrote 3 letters to the Council of the Indies in Madrid, Spain. He wrote one in 1521, one in 1534, and one in 1535. Later, in 1550, he fought an educated colonist that was very against his cause and was trying to publish a book in order to start a war between the colonists and the natives, named Juan Guinness de Sepulveda, in a debate called the Valladolid debate, set up by Charles V in order to settle the conflicts with the new laws. The debate went on for 2 years. Overall, it came out a tie, so all conquests were suspended until the debate was over and the decision had been made by the council to see by what degree should they water down the new laws. 1547 to his death in 1566, he became an influential advisor to the emperor and the Council of the Indies. In the short term, all of his actions changed the view of the treatment of the Native Americans for many people at the time. Many were all for the poor treatment of natives, and he was the first one to actually widely spread the new idea that being so prejudiced was not right. He also helped make the game-changing laws of 1542. In the long term, by taking the native workforce out of the picture, he helped start the African slave trade. However, he was thought of as an early human rights activist and inspired generations to stand up for what they believe is right. For example, during Columbus Day, there were a few articles about Las Casas scattered about showing that Columbus's arrival was more barbaric than what people think, and we should be focusing on the light instead of the darkness. The reason his name has lasted through history is truly inspiring, just like he was. The way the conquistadors treated the Native Americans really stood out as something that was wrong to him, so he decided to do something about it. He took a stand by writing numerous books about the poor treatment of the Native Americans, getting involved with the emperors, writing letters to the Council of the Indies, and debating for what he believed is right. In the short term, he created the laws of 1542 that banned Indian slavery, prohibited Indian forced labor, and provided for a gradual abolition of the encomienda system. In the long term, his actions unfortunately helped start the African slave trade, but they influence people today to stand up for what they believe is right. What made him most special was the way he looked at a new culture without being ethnocentric.